Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for my audience to turn up there on TikTok. That's why I'll be looking at the phone. Sometimes I get people on YouTube, but you're probably coming over from TikTok. Okay. Alrighty. Hello. Oh, you're new, aren't you? Small Grandma. Wait a minute. You've been here before, haven't you? Small Grandma? Was it Small Grandma? Something like that. Anyway, I am. Anyway, while we're waiting, I'd love to hear where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. I'm also filming on YouTube at the same time. That's where I save these lives. Otherwise, they were just gone before. I just got a whole bunch of questions in Instagram about what people want me to do videos on. So I just did a bunch of toddler videos. I've only put one up. I've got 2 more I'll be putting up tonight. I know everyone wants to know about toddlers, and all I keep saying is they're just crazy. They're just crazy. So anyway, I have a few tips, but anyway. But yeah, I just did a bunch of toddler videos. So while we're waiting, where are you from? I'm in Vancouver, Canada. Hi, Chelsea. You've been here before. High five. I don't remember you. Sanders, I think that's familiar. Sarah Jane. Trish Cortez, I recognize that. Oh, just dazed here, staring. Anyway, where are you from? What part of the world are you from? What time is it here? 7:38. It's late. I'm not usually on this late. Sometimes I do. Hi, Sissy. Australia. Excellent. You're an Aussie. I'm an Aussie too. I always want to call myself bilingual. That's not. What am I? I've got dual citizenship, but I'm not bilingual. I always get that mixed up. Thanks for the rose. Appreciate that. So where are you from? What part of the world? Sorry, I'm just looking at your names. Okay, I'll just get going now. Boy, I've got like 12 people on here. I usually wait till I get about 100, but if it's a slow start, then we'll just get going. If you go in the link up above, you can see everything I've got to offer on there. You can buy a course for me, or you can hire me for coaching, or you can download my free behavior board. That's completely free. It always has been. It always will be. Teaches you how to give respect to get it, because you're on there too. That's what makes it different. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. How come there's only 17 people on here? What night? Let me think. Why would that be? I don't know. Can never figure it out. So parenting questions. Oh, for a second there, I thought maybe I was on the wrong. I have 2 accounts. Am I on the wrong account? I've done that before. I've done that more than once. 10:40 here, maybe in bed. Yeah, sometimes I'll do one at 9 o'clock at night though, when I get lots of people. So I just can't figure it out. Just the first chance I've had today to get on. Okay, so parenting questions. I get a lot of toddler questions, and I put out a thing on Instagram asking for their what videos they want to see. Toddler. So, and then all these ideas. So I've got like, geez, probably 30 different ideas here. And so I just did 3 toddler videos tonight. I've downloaded one, and I'll put the other ones up later on. 3:40 a.m. in Ireland. Ireland, what do you do? What do you do that you're up at 3:40? Or is this morning for you, or have you been up all night? Or you got a baby? Maybe you got a newborn. You're feeding. Jeez, I remember that. That was brutal. Okay, so I've got 85 people now. Okay, how to handle oppositional defiance, that's ODD. It's not really a medical term, it just means they're just a little bit feisty. It's all the same stuff. Set yourself up as a leader and they will follow. You lead and they will follow. So if they're 3 and above, you can download my free behavior board, or you can buy my course, 3 to 12-year-olds, and it teaches you how to set yourself up as a leader. Truly, if you lead, they all need, crave, and want a leader. If you lead, you get good at this, they just follow. It's just, everything's easy. It's just easy. So yeah, so you can check that out. Or if you want to hire me, you can do that too. But the behavior board starts at the age of 3, and that's completely free. And it has nothing to do with the kids. Like when I was working with kids, I never I never opened up a file, not once. I was handed giant files sometimes of kids. I never opened up one file because I understood it's just about me and my leadership skills. I worked on myself, not them. I knew if I was a calm leader and I was fun, they're going to follow. They're going to want to please me. And when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. So, and you want them, I just did a video, I think yesterday. Oh, shoot. Yeah. Anyway, and I said, don't worry about what kids think about you, worry about what they think about themselves. If you are making kids feel good about themselves, you're the source of that, and they want to please you. So it's how they feel about themselves, not how they feel about you. That's secondary. But your number one goal is to make them feel good about themselves. That's why we don't discuss tantrums. We don't discuss bad behavior. We just deal with it. Hey, that was bad. Here's the consequence. Now do you want to go play a game? It's like that. It's just not a big deal. I know everyone wants to do these therapy sessions with kids. Ugh. Unless there's something huge going on. Okay, 3-year-old's trying to assert himself, stomping feet, yelling at it. Okay, so that says to me you're not a leader because he's just found his power. He's realized you're not a leader. If you're a leader right through the 2 and then you hit the 3-year-old, they don't do that. So he knows you're not a leader. He's just finding his power. He's going, I got a lot of power here. If I stomp my feet, they get upset. Never let them see you shake or anything. Like, you want to make sure that you stay calm. And you can use my behavior board, or if you want to learn how to set yourself up as a leader, I've got my course out. It's in the link above there, and it's 5 weeks to get respect. So it'll sort that all out for you. It's all about you. It's not about the kids. So they're just realizing, hey, I'm in charge here. My son just turned 4 and is going through a phase where he's scared of everything. How do you handle? I don't know what's going on there. I would have to assess that, okay? Because I need to know, when did it start? What's he afraid of? And where does it manifest itself? So is it at school, at home, in the middle of the night? So yeah, sorry, but you'd have to hire me and I'd have to assess that. You should write a book. Yeah, one day I will, hopefully. I'm just kind of busy. But yeah, I'd like to one day. I'm just no good at writing, but you can get artificial intelligence to do that for you now. I'll figure it out one day. Oh, Gracie, you have just a sec here. Just looking at it. You actually wrote that question in the Instagram story, didn't you? How do I stop? I'm pretty sure I wrote that down. How do I deal with a 2.5-year-old hitting 11-month-old brother? I'm pretty sure I wrote that down. Yeah, you just have, I'm sure I wrote that down. Why is it not there? Maybe I just saw that question earlier or something. Anyway, yeah, you just say you don't hit your baby brother and keep them separate. You have to keep them separate, if just for a period of time, and make sure that the 11-month-old has the more fun stuff. So you say, no, you don't hit him. So you're going to have to play over here, but make sure that 11-month-old has something really fun to play with that the 2-year-old would like to play with. But it's hard work. It's going to take a while. It's going to take probably a good week. It's going to be hard, but it's worth it. Everything that's worth it is going to be hard work, right? None of this comes easy. Getting respect is really hard work. Maintaining it's easy. So it's worth it. It's worth putting in the effort. And the bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. So if he has a fit because he can't play with what the 11-month-old is playing because he hits him, then that's good. That's a good thing. Behind every scene is a lesson. Never be afraid of a scene. I think I did a video on that yesterday, or I don't know if I did it yet. Anyway, I want to do it again. I've talked about it before. Never be afraid of a tantrum, a scene, a fit, an outburst, nothing. If you are, they are in charge. My attitude is, you don't like my rules and you're going to break them, and then you're going to have a scene. You're going to have an absolute fit because I said no to you. Bring it on. You're not in charge. I am. Bring it on. Like, that's my opportunity to exercise my leadership, right? How can I exercise it if they don't challenge me? If I'm working with a new kid, or if you're starting to get respect with your own kids, yeah, bring it on. Yeah, you think you can manipulate me with all that? No, it's not going to happen. Okay. If I'm talking in a Southern accent, I had a new client today who's Southern. Every time I talk, I got a lot of clients with Southern accents, which I love Southern accents. So often I'll just pick up the accent and I'll do it all day. I was just talking to someone and I had a Southern accent. They said, what are you doing? I said, oh, I got another client with a Southern accent. I love Southern accents. I just think they're gorgeous. Okay. Okay. My 3-year-old is seemingly hyperactive since his sister was born 3 months ago. So all of a sudden he's hyperactive. Yeah. Not really listening. Yeah, he's just adjusting. Okay, now 3 months ago might take a good 6 months, might even take longer, I'm not sure. But you can start with the behavior board. It's free on my website. You never address attitude and you never put the big picture stuff like be a good boy. You never put that as a rule on there. You just pick little things and start to exercise your leadership. But yeah, if he just started being hyperactive, they're born hyperactive, by the way, if it's long term. Leadership of what? Oh, I always talk about leadership parenting. You're a leader in your with your children. They need, crave, and want leadership. They're children. They're looking for a leader. They're desperately needed. It's an instinct. They need a leader. You want that to be you. If you're not a leader for your children, they're going to be susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the internet, the drug dealer on the corner, the Kardashians. They're going to be very vulnerable out there in the world if you're not a strong, calm leader at home. So right through the teen years. But you want, when they're teenagers, it shifts and change a little bit. You're sort of passing the torch over to them. Your backup leader. You want them to be their own leaders. You want to switch that around a little bit. Blah, 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 blah. Do they get worse before they get better? Starting the board, pretty much. That's a good thing, sort of. Like if they're out of control and if they don't get worse in the behavior board, you probably haven't got a big enough rule on there. Like you expect them to fight back. That's a good thing. Remember, that is an opportunity for you to exercise your leadership. I often do and coaching, I tend to push clients to failure. What I mean by that is I push to see how far I can push them in that first week. And then I learn a lot about in the next week, I learn a lot about how that went, about them and what their strengths and weaknesses are. But yeah, usually the kids will get worse, usually. Think about it this way. Let's say you had a job and you were allowed to sit around and drink coffee all day and not do any work. All of a sudden your boss comes in and says, you're going to have to start earning your, like if you got away with being lazy and, cheeky and all that stuff, your boss comes in and said, you're going to have to stop being cheeky and start doing some work. You might be susceptible to being a little bit more feisty too, right? You see what I'm saying? If you get away with stuff for so long, the longer they've been getting away with being in charge, the more likely they are to be worse when you introduce the behavior board. I don't even know if I said that right. The Kardashians, yeah. Actually, they're not bad influences at all. I mean, they seem to be a close family and they seem to, boy, they are good at marketing, I'll tell you. But it just gets a laugh when I say it. Sometimes just a cheap laugh. I don't know anything. I've never seen their show, so I don't know much about them. Okay, so I'm doing it right. Oh, very good. M. Johnston. Oh, yeah, I've worked with you, haven't I? So I'm doing it right then. So in other words, they're really fighting back. Yeah, you're doing it right. It should peter off, though. It should get easier. Like when a kid, when I first start working with kids, they'll often, if they're used to pushing their parents around, then they come up against me. They'll often try and push me, and I'm like, whatever. Good luck with that. How should I choose my battles? Okay, you only pick one battle per week. And if you're doing this by yourself, like without me, if you're not going to hire me for coaching, then you pick a battle you can win. If you hire me, I'll pick a hard battle because I know how to use your failure to our advantage the next week. I can't tell you how I do that, but it actually, I can use that to our advantage. But if you're doing it on your own, pick a battle you can win. Make it something simple, like put your dirty clothes in the hamper and nowhere else. Like they can't leave their dirty clothes on the floor all day and then at midnight put them in the hamper. So pick a battle you can win. And you only need to win one per week. And then next week you have 2 battles. The third week you have 3 battles. And then after that, then if you want my course, it kind of goes into that, how you pace it all out over 5 weeks. And you can look at the whole course. You can read it all through when you first buy it, but then don't rush it. If anything, you can stretch it out, especially the first week, you can stretch it out, but you can't condense it at all. Do not jump to week 4. I had someone who did that. Oh, we started with week 4 because that's where we want to be. They couldn't figure out why it didn't work. Didn't work. Okay. 3-year-old spits, hits, leaves the house, and goes next door to my parents. Left my dad online today. Well, that's not about your 3-year-old. That's about you. That's your leadership or lack of. If when you're a leader, they don't do any of that stuff. They just don't. Their basic personality and their basic tendency they're born with. Our basic nature we're born with, okay? But our behavior is formed by our parents. So your child's behavior is 100%, especially when not so much when they're teenagers, they can go a little bit off trail, but still, they don't go that far off usually. But if you're a leader, but yeah, they are just responding to your parenting. So you're only working on yourself. Remember, it's never about the kids. It's always about you. I teach parenting. I don't teach toddlering, kidding, teenagering. I teach parenting. I've worked with hundreds of kids. I could get all their respect, not by catering to their individual personalities. I'm a leader. I know how to get respect. That's it. Once you know how to get it, it's easy. It's like anything. Once you master this, it's like, oh gosh, how did I not know that before? But you just only know what you know, right? So yeah, once you figure this out, it's just about giving respect to get it. I could tell you story after story after story. And same with my clients. About week 3, they go, oh, I get it. It's all about me. Yeah, I've been telling you that for 3 weeks, but yeah, it's all about you. That's why I call it leadership, calm leadership parenting. It's not calm leadership kidding or anything. It's all about you. So that you can work on your leadership skills. Yeah, I worked full time and had to quit because, yeah, you just need to work on your leadership skills. That wouldn't happen unless there's something he's got some challenge that I don't know about. But yeah, because once they're about 3 years old, they're under your umbrella. Like what I mean by that is when you're a really good leader, they respect you, they tend to respect everybody. It's just the way it goes. 3.5 usually they respect everybody because they're just respectful kids. They have pride in themselves and they'd be embarrassed to be rude. Uh, my 1-year-old throws things when she doesn't want them. I don't know what to. Yeah, just put it away. Say no and put it away. Put it up top where she can see it but can't touch it. But it's a little bit tricky because I don't know what you're putting away and for how long. It might just be for 5 minutes or an hour, or but every time she throws something, and even that, she's still a baby, really. Like I think they're kind of babies up to about 16 months old. So things are a little bit different. Like I always say, it's consistent. Gosh, why can I not remember? Consistent corrective actions. Is that right? Consistent corrective actions. Yeah, I struggled trying to remember that. I made that up and I couldn't remember it for ages, and then I just forgot it. I've still got the ignore tantrums to decrease duration, frequency, and intensity because I can never remember that. Anyway, toddlers are all about consistent corrective actions and they learn through repetition. But 1-year-old, they're still kind of babies, so you might have to use diversion. You put something away, as soon as they throw it, you put it away and you say no, and then you might divert them. And oh, look at that, but you never divert them with candy or anything really exciting. You might just sit and calmly read a book with them. And you can't say to them, let's read a book, because they're gonna keep having a fit because you're looking at them. I would just go off sort of on the couch and just sit with one of their books and read out loud to myself. I wouldn't look at them at all because that'll just set them off again if they're upset. So you just quietly read. Next thing you know, they're crawling into your lap and you're reading to them. So you're diverting them. That's still a baby at 1 year old, right? Oh, okay. I tried the sleeping technique. You mean that staying in bed with my almost 2-year-old son? It wasn't working for us. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes that's coaching because it's depends on the age too. They're all a little bit different. Like when they're little, at about 2.5 or 3, it's pretty consistent. But when they're under that, it depends on, did they just go into a big bed? Are they scared of the dark? What do they sleep with? Are they still in diapers? And there's a lot of things. So if you want my help with that, you might have to hire me. It's just one session usually with sleep training. But yeah, so there's something else going on. I can't cover everything on TikTok. There's something else going on. I just don't know what it is. Okay, Amanda, my 2-year-old started daycare and started hitting, not listening like he used to once he gets home. So he used to be easy, now he's not. There's a few things going on there. It could be other influences, or he could just be finding his own power. He might just have been really meek and mild because he didn't know what he could do or get away with. So work on your leadership skills and that won't happen. Everything starts at home. You can never really correct them when they're at daycare. They're kind of under the daycare people's control at that point. But at home, yeah, work on your leadership skills. He just hadn't found his power yet. That's what that says to me. So they just play all night until they fall asleep. Yeah, I'd have to figure out what's going on there. I've heard all this stuff before. There's always something going on there. I don't know about. Maybe they're napping too much during the day, so they're not that tired. Plus, I would wake them up early, even if they're fast asleep, have one hell of a miserable day all day, not let them nap, and then put them to bed and see how you go. You got to be willing to go through the tough stuff to get where you want to go, right? Everyone wants the rainbow without the storm. I'm willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. That's what it takes. The bigger the storm, the bigger the rainbow. Everyone wants the rainbow. Oh, I don't want to go through that. Well, that can't help you. You got to be willing to go through that. Does that make sense? Can I get some likes there? Do you understand that? You have to be willing to do the hard stuff to get the good results. So, but a lot of people don't want to do that because, oh, it's just, I'm so exhausted. Yeah, but it's only usually one night of hell with the sleep training. Okay, someone's just doing some trolling on here. You know, the meaner you get, the more miserable you look, and it just inspires me to keep going. So I used to work with troubled teens, and they could be really foul. So, yeah. What makes someone a good leader? When you inspire someone to be their best, that's a good leader. You inspire someone else to be their best. That's leadership. Because if everyone's just admiring you and following you because you're so great, to me, that's garbage. I could care less about that. I don't want kids to look at it that way. I want them to feel good about themselves. And I just happen to be the source of that. So they want to please me. But I want them, my goal is to make them feel good about themselves. Kids who really like themselves are never mean, like trolls on here. They don't like themselves. It's impossible to feel good about yourself and be mean. Absolutely. I understand that. It's absolutely impossible. So with children, if they like themselves, they can't be mean, they can't be rude. It's just the way it goes. You're the source of this. You have so much more power than you think you do. Well, I don't know what your question is. Your 4-year-old doesn't like it when it gets dark outside. I don't know what you mean by that. Is there a question there? Or? I just did a video on tantrums. I don't know if I downloaded it yet or not. But yeah, it goes into tantrums. I tell the swing story. Okay, what's your advice on keeping your cool and being calm when your preschooler is being disobedient? The only reason though you get upset is you don't know what to do. Once you understand how to be a leader, you don't get angry. It's almost like you embrace that stuff because you go, here's an opportunity for me. Here's an opportunity for me to exercise my leadership. My son is an only child, gets the most positive attention, but still acts crazy with not listening. Well, are you the pleaser parent? Are you trying to roll out the red carpet, make everything easy for your child, or are you actually teaching them how to make good choices and be respectful? So if it sounds like you could potentially be the pleaser parent. Okay, that's really trendy right now, but I know where it goes. It goes where you are right now. So yeah. That's what I'm guessing. You don't want to be that. There's two very distinct styles with parenting. The old style is the authority style parenting, my way or the highway. I'm your parent, you do what I say when I say, right? That's the the authority style. What's in right now is the pleaser parent. I want you to like me. I want everything to be easy for you. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. You're not raising fortitude or respect for other people. So it's all about them. And that's what you're doing. You're rolling out the red carpet. You're trying to get them in with the good teachers. You're trying to make life easy for them. You want to please them. You don't ever want them to dislike you. You know, that's the pleaser parent. That's trouble. If you're going to err on either, I don't do either of those. I'm the leader. And if you're going to err on either side, do the authority. They build stronger individuals. They build nicer people. So, but the pleaser parent, yeah, I know it's a trend. It's been a trend for quite some time. But I actually think I see things shifting. Because it's not working. The parents who were doing that, now they realize that's backfiring. Boy, oh boy. What happens with the authority parent is the teenagers rebel, but they usually turn out okay and appreciate their parents. With the pleaser parents, the teenagers, when they're teenagers, they wipe their feet on you and they never appreciate you. They're always got their hand out right through the adult years. So yeah, I'm generalizing, I'm exaggerating, but that's the basic. That's the pendulum swinging one way or the other. I'm neither one of those. So it's not even really a pendulum swinging. I'm the leader. I guide them into making good choices so they feel good about themselves, and therefore they always make good choices. It sort of feeds off itself. How do you get a child to stop using binkies? I never know what that is because some people call a blanket a binky and other people it's a dummy. So I'm going to say it's a dummy, and I'll tell you what I did with my son. He was 18 months old, and I let him have the dummy until he was that old because we were doing a big overseas trip. We lived in Australia. We were going to be traveling to Canada. It was going to be a 24-hour trip. I thought, I am not taking that dummy away from him on that plane. Like, there's no way. So anyway, as soon as we got home, we had jet lag and everything. But I said to him, we're going to put out, you're a big boy now, no more dummies. We're going to put them all in a bag. And then he had to drop them into the big wheelie bin. And he was, he was okay, and he dropped them in. But he knew once that wheelie bin lid shut, they were never coming out again. I was like this. I was keep calling it hungover. I wasn't. I had jet lag, and I was trying to get this, kid who he had tantrums. My daughter never did, but he did. So I thought, oh, I'm just going to have a horrible week with this kid going without his dummy. He never once asked for one once, not once. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But I think he knew when mom said, he might have asked with dad. If dad had done that, he might have been different because he knew dad might give in. He knew I never would. So he knew once they ended up in that outside wheelie bin, he knew they were never coming out again. And every time he'd go like this to reach for a dummy, and then he'd look over at me, I'd look away. So I didn't notice. No way I wanted to get eye contact with him when he was looking for a dummy. But he never once asked for one because he was 1.5. He was kind of realizing when mom said something, it was happening. So he didn't always like it, but this time he did. I don't know what happened there. Did everything go like that? No, it wasn't always that easy. That one was. So yeah, but it can't be a gradual thing. It's like pulling off a Band-Aid. It's got to be in one go. Put all the dummies in a bag, have him throw them away somewhere where you can't fish it out. Can't be a kitchen garbage, right? Has to be somewhere out in the street or whatever. Drive around and drop it off at the mall garbage can or something. But yeah, good luck with that. I think I lucked out with that too, but he did know when mom said something. It doesn't mean he always liked it. This time he just put up with it. I have no idea why. How to speak to a 13-year-old who is starting to ignore. You're asking me how to lecture him and correct him. I don't do that. You got to get his respect. That's when he'll listen. Okay. Teenagers are my favorite age. I started my business with teenager stuff and crisis work. So they're my absolute favorite age. He's starting to ignore because he doesn't like what you're saying because you haven't learned how to talk teen. You haven't learned how to talk, so he will listen. And do you listen to him? So here's what if you want to hire me, I'd have to work with you on that. It's too complicated, but there's a lot of steps involved. But anyway, the two most important skills with teenagers, number one is listening to understand and show empathy. You do not listen to gather information to lecture with. They will shut you out and stop talking to you. And that if they want your advice, they're going to ask for it. They already know what it is anyway, by the way. But the better you get at listening without lecturing, the more they're going to talk to you and the more they are likely to ask your advice. Plus, when they do ask for your advice, say, well, I don't know, let's figure it out together. You want to work with them. You don't want to be solving a teenager's problems because then they're always going to be dependent upon you. I don't want that. I want them to learn how to solve their own problems, but I'm there kind of helping them out. Anyway, the number two most important parenting skill with teenagers is negotiating. So an example would be if I said, hey, can you come, they're going to a party tonight. Can you come home at 11? They say, well, how about 1? I say, I'll tell you what, let's meet in the middle and make it midnight. Something like that. You negotiate everything with a teenager. You got to give them some say in how their life goes. They will listen to you if you talk like that, if you get good at this. But anyway, if you want my help, you might have to hire me for that. Teenagers it's more complicated. What to do when a toddler kicks and hits me? Yeah, you just say, I actually have a course on that. One of my courses is, just a sec, I'll find it here. Maybe I won't. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong place. Okay, one of my courses is toddlers who hit, bite, etc., and it just goes through that in great detail. But it's not during a tantrum. If they're having a tantrum and they do that, that's the tantrum course. Lots of people buy both. They're very different. The kids who just are kind of more violent without a tantrum, they hit and they kick and, like that. That's the different course. Tantrums, when they hit and they kick during a tantrum, they're not really responsible for that. Okay. Yeah, toddlers biting, hitting, etc. course. I just can't come up with a better name. I could call it aggressive toddlers, but I don't really like that for some reason. How do I make my kids listen without having to yell in order to make them listen? By the way, if you're yelling to make them listen, that's a very short-term solution. It'll backfire big time. Yelling comes back at you tenfold. So yeah, there's no point doing that. Just start with the behavior board. It'll teach you how to start getting respect. Or you can buy my course if they're 3 to 12 years old. Or if you want the extra help, you can hire me one-on-one Zoom coaching. So, and I'll teach you how to do that. They do listen. When you're a leader, they listen. They just do. You learn how to talk, so they will listen. You got to get their respect though. How do you teach a 4-year-old to not be bossy at a playground with other kids? Are you there? Like if I saw that, I'd say, you can sit down for 5 minutes. You can sit here with me for 5 minutes if you're going to boss people around. Every time I catch you bossing someone around, you can sit with me for 5 minutes. So it's not a timeout because you're there. And you're not talking about what they did. Just talk about the weather when they're sitting there. So yeah, just have a consequence. I should probably tell that story of when I went into preschool. I just told that the other day. It was a good story. I think I've told it a couple times now. Anyway, it's not that. It's just funny. It's not that interesting. It's just about me when I was a kid. Okay. 4 and 5-year-old who's very aggressive, biting, hitting, etc. Yeah, you got to work on your leadership skills. That just says, can I talk about that? It was a client that I was talking to earlier. Let me think. No, I don't want to discuss that. I talk about clients a lot, but it's kind of too personal. So, and I keep it pretty general. But anyway, yeah, work on your, okay. Here's the thing, is when you're always pointing at your kids, how do I fix them? You're missing the whole point here. You work on yourself. So how about a kid who's very aggressive? He's only doing what you've taught him to do, what you've allowed him to get away with. That's all it is. Work on yourself. That would not happen if you were a leader. It would not happen at all. Work on yourself. That's a learned behavior. They've learned how to do that and get away with it because you're not a leader. That's all it is. Work on your leadership skills. You can buy one of my courses. I have a course on leadership from 3 to 12-year-old. You can hire me for coaching or download my free behavior board. That'll get you started. It's just a tiny part of the whole thing, but it's a good start. And so lots of people are getting results with the behavior board on their own. But if you're next level with all this stuff, really struggling, then the behavior board on your own probably won't do it. Someone sent 34 roses. Is that right? I don't understand all those things. Thanks very much. If anyone sends me gifts or what, I mean, we don't make money really on TikTok here, but it's just a show of appreciation and I really do appreciate that. That's why I keep turning up, because I'm helping people. So. Okay. 2-year-old keeps throwing everything, so we put her in the corner for 1 minute. Is that appropriate? I hate timeout. I can't stand it. I think it's mean and humiliating. So no, I wouldn't do that. If they're throwing things, say no, and you put that thing away so they can see it, but they can't touch it. They're going to have a fit. That's okay. They will eventually learn. Because with 2-year-olds, it's consistent corrective actions. It's not words. One word's sufficient. Just no, and whatever they just threw, put it away to show them. That's a consistent corrective action. You got to do it every single time, though. If you miss one time out of 100, they'll remember that. Kids are very good at remembering your mistakes, but not so much your successes. Your advice to give them choices to get them to do something when asked works on 5-year-old. Thank you. Yeah, it can be overused though. Like it can get to the point where you're like you're so begging them almost. It can be. That's what I don't. You notice I don't talk about that a lot. I don't talk about giving kids choices a lot. I will do it with clothes if they're really fussy about what they wear. I say, here's the 2 outfits you can choose from today, something like that. But overall, I don't tend to overdo that because they can get kind of in charge with that a little bit. So you don't negotiate with young children usually. But yeah, it can go a little bit too far sometimes. Okay, good question here. Can you give us some examples on encouraging the good instead of focusing on the bad behavior? I always say you meet their needs and you manage their wants. A huge part of their needs are having fun and feeling good about themselves. So you treat them like they're absolutely wonderful human beings, but if they should happen to act out, say, look, that was really bad what you just did. The consequence is this. Do you understand? And then make it happen. So you address the bad behavior. Then you go break. You don't talk about it though. You just deal with it like that, quick. It's like a hit and run. You just deal with it. You don't hit them, but you know what I'm saying. It's quick. It's over with. Then you say something like, oh, do you want to go to the park? You see, there's no anger. It's just you did something bad. There's going to be a consequence. That's it. It's fast. When did you fall in love with this vocation passion? It's a long story, actually, but I'll make it short. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old, and they were telling me, how do you do that? They always put the difficult kids near me and say, can you look after this one? And they said, the kids all love you, but they respect the heck out of you. And I didn't know how to answer that. But I think I was kind of just born to do this. Anyway, years, decades later, I was mentoring troubled teens, and they told me, they said, you have to teach this, Lisa, because no one had ever talked to them the way I talked to them. And then they told me, then I wasted $5,000 on career counseling, and they said, you should be a parenting coach. So there you go. I think I was just kind of born to do this, but it took me a long time. I didn't do this until I was in my 40s. So it took me a long time. And that was 17 years ago. So yeah. When people tell you what you should do, maybe you should listen to them. Like I heard that many times over my life. You should teach this, God. Anyway, so, and then I didn't know there was such a thing as a parenting coach. There didn't used to be. Anyway. And it is if you're going to take advice from someone who's teaching parenting, I couldn't stress this enough. They have to have two criteria. If you're going to take advice from someone about parenting, two criteria. They have to have finished the job with their own kids. If they haven't lived with teenagers, they shouldn't be talking about parenting. You have to understand the finish line. They have to have finished the job, okay? Otherwise, how can they teach anything? Because if they don't know how to finish the job, how can they teach how to start it? Doesn't make any sense to me at all. Anyway, that's one. And the other one is they have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids with all sorts of challenges, because they might just have really easy kids. I didn't learn a lot with my own kids. I learned how to live with teenagers though, but I didn't learn a lot with my own kids. Basically, it was all the other hundreds of kids I learned that taught me stuff. They were the ones that challenged me. My kids didn't, because I got respect when they were tiny. So I didn't have to get it. I already had it. I got it when they were really little. So you see, those are two things to look out for. I'm not criticizing other people who aren't like that. I don't know who else is out there. I stay out of that. Boy, I stay away from that. So I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm just saying it would be, if you're not taking advice from someone with those two criteria, it would be like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. I wouldn't do that. I would only take advice from someone with $1 million or plus in the bank. You see what I'm saying? It's experience-based. You have to prove the results to me. Parenting is so personal. It's so important. There's a lot of trendy stuff out there right now that's just trendy, but it's not effective. I know that because I don't study it. I don't look at what anyone else is doing. My clients tell me I have to fix all that stuff that's been done, all this trendy stuff that's been done. That's my job to fix it. We have to reverse all the damage that's been done by that. How do I explain why I don't do timeout? What do you mean? Oh, because it's mean, it's humiliating. It's like saying to a child, you're not even worth talking to. Ugh, you go over there, sit in the corner, and you think about what you did. You ruminate over that for 5 whole minutes. Then I'm going to come over and talk about what you did wrong for another 5 minutes. It's just awful, dragging them through the mud. It's just awful. I hate it. I think it's humiliating. Could you imagine if a boss did that with you? Hey, you made a mistake. There's a typo here. Sit in the corner for 5 minutes. You think about what you did. Then when you're done, I'm going to come over and show you the typo, and we're going to discuss it. Think about it. It's the same thing. It's the exact same feeling. It's humiliating. It's degrading. It's mean. I went a little bit overboard with that, but that's funny. You know why I get frustrated with some of these things is because I have to erase the damage that's been done. Because that's when people come to me for coaching, and I'll say, well, what did you do? And they'll tell me what they've been doing. And I say, well, we have to fix that up now. So. My 4-year-old daughter doesn't want to play with other kids. Kids invite her to play and she says no. I don't know what's going on, but I would get her involved in team sports. Get her involved in things where she has to interact with other kids. It doesn't even have to be a team sport. It could be dance or anything where she has to interact with other kids. So yeah, she should learn. Social skills are not something you can teach your child. You can expose them to them and force them to have to socialize. My kids were about just over a year. Once they were up on their feet and walking well, I started taking them to the gym every single day. And they went in gym daycare. That was their social skills. They learned that for a whole hour. Well, let's face it, at the gym, us moms walk really slowly back to the daycare. So it might even be an hour and a half to 2 hours. And because we'd be talking and walking and really slowly to go and pick our kids up. They were having a blast in the daycare. That was their socializing. So how do you introduce the behavior board? Okay, I've got it all in the behavior board course there. That's free, the behavior board course. But you just say, okay, here's the behavior board, kids. It's on a big poster board. And you say, there you go. Let's go through it all. I'm on there too. You can punish me too. We're all accountable. It's a family thing, right? And say it starts tomorrow. You never start it on the day you introduce it. You don't want them going to bed like this. You wake up in the morning, okay, this starts today. And then you remind them of it. And then that's it. You can put pictures if they're not reading, put pictures on there. Well, okay. How do I stop my 1-year-old from hitting and throwing things at my newborn? Keep your newborn safe. You cannot expect anything from a 1-year-old. It's up to you to just keep the new one safe. That's all. I'm going to tell you a story. My son was 2, and I used to have play dates with a friend of mine. She also had a 2-year-old little boy. Both of our boys were very kind, like they weren't at least bit aggressive. So we were shocked at this. She had a new baby, and her son was like, after about a week of having this new baby home, gorgeous little girl, he picked her up out of the bassinet and threw her on the floor. We did not expect that from him. He was a very sweet, passive little boy. But yeah, that's a big adjustment. They get sick of that. They don't understand life and death. They don't understand that they could actually hurt that newborn. So just keep the newborn away. Keep them separate. You protect the newborn. Carry them around, attach them to the newborn to you all day if you have to. So yeah, you just got to police it. It's just hard work. That's one of the biggest challenges in my coaching. And I deal with crisis work, with life and death crisis work. One of my biggest challenges, one of them is mom guilt. Trying to get past that is difficult. Also, when a mom's got a toddler and a newborn, because you don't have the energy and the physicality because you're stuck with 2 little wee ones. So I have to really, try and figure stuff out. But it is tricky. You just have to keep them separate. COVID made it hard to socialize our toddlers. Yeah, but they're still little. They're very malleable. They're very pliable. So it's never too late. You can still get them involved in things. I used to have my kids, well, they went to the gym daycare every weekday. My son would cry on the weekends because I worked out 7 days a week. I still do. And so he would cry on the weekends because he couldn't go to the daycare. It wasn't open. So that's how much he loved it. My daughter, not so much, but he loved that. But then they were in Gymboree before that. Then they went to the gym daycare. Then they were in swimming lessons. And then I just had them socializing them all the time. Other kids will teach them about social skills. They'll just learn it through other kids. They'll find their place in the world through that kind of stuff. But when they're really little, they don't really interact much together. You'll see that when they start to become about 2, 2.5, 3, then they start to actually play together. But before that, they're just playing independently side by side, like you watch them. So they don't really socialize much when they're really little. They'll watch other kids and they'll play beside them, but they don't tend to be really good at sharing and playing together. Thank you for the gifter badge. I really do appreciate that. That just shows support in the fact that I'm on here. I don't get paid for this TikTok stuff. So I'm just trying to help you. Most people are never going to hire me. If you want to hire me, you can do that in the link above. But most people aren't. So this is my free service where I'm helping you. It's like free coaching, really. Well, coaching's a lot more involved, but it's free answering questions. Shut up, Lisa. They get it. It's free answering questions when you ask them. I didn't hear what alternative to timeout. Okay, good point. Timeout, instead of timeout, you say use the behavior board if they are 3 and over. So that's how you discipline when they're 3 and over. When they're under 3, it's consistent corrective actions. So if they do something bad, you say no, and you remove something that they're enjoying, or you remove them, or you remove the other kid. So there's a consistent corrective action. It's very quick. It's in the moment, and that's it. Then it's done. That's how you do it. And let them have an absolute fit. They will process that. They will eventually learn. Ignore tantrums. You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. I don't, I've never read a book on parenting or kids or anything because kids taught me all this. I learned this through working with kids, right? So, and just common sense. Like I was always obsessed with figuring kids out. And, anyway, uh, the ignoring tantrums. Did I do that? I just did a video tonight. I don't know if I put it out yet. Anyway, a lot of people say that you're ignoring their feelings and it's damaging them and everything. If you're, if ignoring a think about this, just think about this. If ignoring a tantrum is going to be that damaging to your child, you got bigger fish to fry. If they're that insecure about their place in the family, your love for them, and if ignoring an outburst or a tantrum or a fit is going to damage them, you got other stuff to work on, okay? They learn very quickly, hey, mom's not going to put up with this crap. As soon as I calm down, then we might go to the park or something. I ignore the crazy, reward the calm. I'm modeling calm behavior. I'm not looking at them or talking to them. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. As soon as they calm down, you want to go to the park? I don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. I just think, what's the point? What is the point? These mini therapy sessions drive me freaking insane. Oh, they're so common right now. They've got a life of their own, these mini therapy sessions, because they're for the mom. They make moms feel good about themselves. They're not for the kids at all. Not at all. They're throwing things and kicking, then you sometimes just have to restrain them. If they're having a tantrum, you restrain them. You're still not looking at them or talking to them. You restrain them, physically restrain them. You can pick them up if they're really little, have them facing away from you, and you're walking around as if you don't even know they're there. So you're not giving them you're not standing there rocking them or anything. That's not what you do. So you put your hand on the back of their head too, so they can't headbutt you. If they're older, you restrain them here and here, down at your side. You're both facing forward, their shoulder to your hip. You're not looking at them or talking to them. You're just restraining them. So how do you become a leader? That's all I talk about. You can go up above. I've got links. You can either buy a course, you can hire me for coaching, or you can download my free behavior board. So it's 3 different levels. The free behavior board, the course, which is $197. It's 5 weeks to get respect, or you can hire me. And that's different. It depends on how many sessions you buy. It's all done on Zoom. So that's how you become a leader. That's how I teach it. But on here, people are still getting results on here. It's a package though. If you were just to pick and choose certain things I tell you, the big picture probably wouldn't work out, because if you're just picking certain things I'm telling you, you might be going somewhere else and listening to them too. Like if you were to throw time out into my method, it wouldn't work. Nothing would work because you're mixing it all up. It's like dieting. You got to pick a path and go with it. Everything I teach goes together like a package. I teach calm leadership. I teach giving respect to getting it. Give respect to get it. So I teach leadership. If you were to throw in other methods and mix it all up, it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work at all. Okay. Oh, Sarah, go somewhere else. I'm not for you. Okay. Pulling hair out. As soon as I let go, 20 minutes later, she's still pulling her hair out. I don't know what's going on there. Are they pulling out handfuls of hair? I would restrain her and say no, or restrain him and say no. But I don't know what's going on there. Like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what's going on there and how old they are and how long they've been doing it. Are they pulling out clumps? Do they have bald sections? Or do they just pull out 2 hairs? So I don't know exactly what's going on there. During a tantrum, then restrain her. Anytime they get violent during a tantrum, you restrain them. You stop them from hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property. Okay, so it's restraint. You just hold them and don't let them do that. 20-month-old running away. Yeah, my favorite, the only method I ever use with that is you put a restraint on them, a leash, a halter, a restraint, whatever you want to call it. You clip them in. You don't clip them in at first, but as soon as they run, you say no, you stay here. And if they run again, if they do run, clip them in. And that whole outing, they have to stay clipped in. They might be having a fit, but remember, you got to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. Everyone wants the rainbow, but they don't want to go through the storm. The storm is all the fits and tantrums when you start taking charge, okay? As soon as you start exercising your leadership, because they've been the leader often, so they're going to fight to get that leadership back. Yeah, just put her on a restraint. That's about safety. You restrain them in the car. Why not on the street? I'd rather them being on a leash and not being hit by a bus. Well, you're asking, how do you discipline a 1-year-old? Now, biting the 3-year-old, keep them apart for now. Keep them and you got to be right there watching. As soon as you put them together, as soon as the 1-year-old goes to bite, you say no, and the 3-year-old or the 1-year-old get put apart. They will eventually put 2 and 2 together. It'll take a while. I'd say at least a week. Oh, 3-year-old addicted to games and screens. God, wait till they're teenagers. Okay. Um, well, oh God, it's hot. Too hot for that. Anyway, um, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're in control, so just, why am I stumbling with that? I'm just thinking a 3-year-old, you're having problems with them being addicted to screens. You have total control over that. It's like when someone says to me, how do I get my kids off candy? How old are they? 2? Why do they have candy? You're in total control. Just say, okay, you can have it for now. When that timer goes off, I'm putting it away. Or you can watch one show and then put it away. You're in total control of screen time. Yeah, just watched your video. Oh, I did put it up, eh? Okay, about attention being tantrum food. It absolutely is. You feed it, it'll grow. And you ignore it. It's like watering plants. If you water them, they keep growing. If you stop, they just die out. Those tantrums will die out if you stop watering them. It's so true. I stopped paying attention. Yeah, it just works. It just does. Okay, I think I have bigger fish to fry. How to deal with a tantrum when child has abandonment issues. Well, you do them at the same time. You still ignore tantrums, but then you have to go overboard with abandonment issues. I don't know what you mean by that. How old are they? Abandonment issues. At how old? I wouldn't use that term with a toddler unless they've been abandoned. Like, were they left in a shed for a week? Or like, what do you mean by that? Have abandonment issues. Yeah, I'm going to challenge you on that term. I don't know what you mean by that. So you have to just give me a little bit more information on that. Yeah, just make sure. And also, when I say that you got bigger fish to fry, what I mean is you got to be fun. You got to be a riot with your kids. I used to be the panty monster every single laundry day, which was every single day. All the underpants went on my head. The leg holes were my eye holes. And I'd say, panty monster's getting all ready. Better start running. And the kids would run screaming. And the panty monster chased them around. Have a fun environment. Have a fun household. So if you're fun and they know they're loved and treasured and all that, ignoring a tantrum is nothing to them. Nothing. Like, they'll just learn, well, this ain't working. Like, that's all it is. Means nothing to them. So be fun, loving, and they know when they're loved. They know when you enjoy them. So find ways to enjoy them. Another thing I used to do with my kids, I did a lot of weird stuff with my kids. I don't talk about that a lot because I did some really weird stuff. Panty monster. My son was 18 and I didn't do it very often, obviously, at that age, but he had a bunch of friends in the rec room. And I was walking past with the laundry basket and I got this idea. I thought, I'll just put some underpants on my head and walk through the rec room. And his friends were all like looking at me. And my son just said, Mom, enough with the panties on the head. He was 18. I still thought it was funny. He didn't think it was funny. His friends were used to me though, so they were just like, your mom's crazy. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, be fun. And you connect with your kids in their world. You do not connect with a 3-year-old at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Like the panty monster, I didn't do that with my friends. That was their world, right? You always connect with them in their world. It's a very flattering thing when an adult goes into their world. You never want them to find their inner adult. You find your 2-year-old, your inner 2-year-old. You connect with them that way. So yeah, if they know they're loved and they're wallowed in and you enjoy them, ignoring a tantrum is nothing to them. They almost get embarrassed. They go, oh, this ain't working with mom. 2-year-old punishment, it's always consistent corrective actions right in the moment because they learn through repetition. They do not learn through words. Do not do the mini therapy sessions. Do not discuss what they're doing wrong and just say no and then take something away, remove them from the fun, remove the other kid, whatever. So it's consistent corrective action, but it has to be consistent and it has to be corrective and it's an action, not a word. And they learn through repetition. They might learn after 100 times. They're not going to learn the first time. If they do, you got a genius there. The tantrums start when the fun stops. Oh, you mean when you're fun? No, it doesn't work that way, but yeah. Actually, my kids, I'm kind of hyperactive. I think sometimes my kids were tired out before I did. How to get a 3-year-old to listen the first time? To what? Like, what do you mean? Uh, are you fair and reasonable? Are you Are you fair and reasonable? Or are you asking them something that's unfair and unreasonable? I don't know what you're asking them. You have to consider what you're putting out there. You know what I mean? Are you being fair and reasonable in your expectation? Like, I never would repeat myself. I say something once. If it's not done, then I take action. Um, but I don't know. But if you're fair and reasonable, you can do that. If you're not, you can't. I just saw your video on being on with tantrums. Okay. And exercising leadership, and 100%. I love it. Yeah. You know, and if I resonate with you, then just keep watching. If I don't, just jump ship, because you'll never like me. If you don't like what I'm saying now, you'll never like me. I'm very controversial. Boy, you should see people coming after me, which is the biggest compliment you can get. So yeah, people have tried to shut me down. My competitions tried to shut me down on here, and I'm a big threat. And I'm thrilled with that. Absolutely thrilled. The more hate I get on here, the more I keep coming back, because I'm shaking things up. I am so sick and tired of this pleaser parenting style that's out right now. It is just destroying kids. They're growing up with mental health issues. They're all self-entitled snowflakes. It's driving me freaking nuts. It's so unnecessary. Where's the leadership? Where's the guidance? Where's the strength? You're not building young people with fortitude, with strength, with confidence, problem solving, independence. It's driving me nuts. Okay, Melissa, I'm the leader, but maybe I'm not punishing correctly. Punishment is never a game, but he thinks it is. I don't know what you're doing. They don't think it's a game if you're doing it right. So I don't know what you're doing. If you want to hire me, I can help you figure that out. I don't know what you're doing. So I've got 3 different levels of ways to become a leader. One is my free behavior board. It's not always enough. The second one is the course. It's $197, and it teaches you how to get respect in 5 weeks if you've got a 3 to 12-year-old. If you want to go the extra, you have to hire me. That's one-on-one coaching, and I'll figure out what you're doing wrong. It doesn't take me very long. And I'll figure out what you're doing right, too. A lot of parents are doing a lot of things right. They don't even realize it. So I'll say, yeah, that's good, but let's take that away. Let's shift that. Let's change that. Okay, we're doing this, doing that. Sometimes people are terrified when they first talk to me. They're very intimidated and think I'm going to judge them. They very quickly know oh, thank you. That was good. They very quickly learn, I want your results. That's all I care about. All I care about is your results. That's it. I want you to succeed. I want you to be a leader by the time I'm done with you. I want you to be confident and enjoying your children. I want you to inspire other people to do the same thing and to set themselves up as leaders. Children need leaders. They're just lacking that these days. They're so desperate for leadership. They need, crave, and want leadership. All children do. If you don't provide that leadership for them, they're going to go out in the world. They're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure, bullies, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, and the Kardashians. They're going to go searching out leaders somewhere else. They're going to be very vulnerable. So you want to be the leader. And when they're teenagers, you want to be that safe place to land. So they'll tell you everything. Everything. Believe me, you don't even always want to hear it, but they'll tell you everything because you're a safe place to land. You're not judgmental. You're very easy to talk to. Anyway. When should you start a behavior board? It starts at the age of 3 because they have no sense of reasoning. A toddler, the number one, the most questions I get are about toddlers. And it's because your biggest mistake with toddlers, I just did a video on that, I think a few days ago. And the biggest mistake parents make with toddlers is you're trying to make sense of them. They don't have any sense yet. They have no context of the world. Imagine if you're 2 years old, you've only been in the world for 2 years, and one of those years you were a potato laying on a bed. I mean, you just don't have context of the world yet. How can you have common sense if you don't even know what's going on yet? So yeah, don't try and figure them out. Just child-proof your home so that you never have to say no to them, and just have fun with them, play with them. So just in their world, not in your world. Remember, you don't take them to the nail salon to bond with them. You get on the floor and roll around with them, have fun with them. So yeah, child-proof your whole house. That's the best advice I can give you with toddlers. And they learn through, if they do something bad, it's consistent corrective action. Right in the moment, you don't discuss it, you just corrective action. A potato on the bed. Yeah, think about it. Think about it. If you're 2 years old, you've only had 1 year's experience in this whole world, and your brain is just, one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. It's just forming. It's just forming. And people say, well, you're underestimating them. They're smart. They're smart, but they're not experienced enough. They don't have context yet. They don't understand anything yet. They're smart. They can figure it out, but it's going to take some time because they're building context. They're building understanding. They're piling it all up. Well, that happened because that happened because by the time they're 3, they can start to reason. That's when they go on the behavior board. The more I ignore, the louder, and the more I ignore, the louder, and the more they scream. Right. They will. Got a hat on. They will. That's right. That's okay. You want that. The bigger the storm, the bigger the rainbow. The better you are at handling that, I don't care what a kid does. There's no way they would bother me. No way. I would never show fear, ever. They're in charge. If that bothers you, they're in charge. That's why they're doing it. If they do it prolonged, it means that it bothers you and they can see it. And you might give in. It means that when they get past the age of 3, if they're still tantruming, it means that they know it sometimes might work. Do you actually mean what you say? Do you do empty threats? If they're over 3, think about it. Because, yeah. Oh, how would you recommend taking turns between toddlers? Don't really do that. No, not with 2-year-olds. They don't understand sharing yet. They understand they can't touch something yet. How do I explain this? They understand, wait a minute, I'm not allowed to touch that yet, but they don't really understand the concept of sharing. There's a difference between the two. So you just have to police it, basically. Or they can play, they each have to have it, or they each have to have something to play with. But yeah, good luck with that. You can't, you're trying to reason with them, you see. That's the problem. It's not that there's anything wrong with toddlers. They're perfect the way they are. They're just exploring the world. They might even stick their hands down their pants and smear poop on the wall. For some toddlers, that's completely normal. Okay? It's your expectation of them that's out of whack, not them. It's your expectation of them. Expecting a toddler to be good at sharing, and that's I wouldn't expect that. How do we fix it if they're 3 and still throwing tantrums? You don't fix it. You just ignore tantrums. But you got to mix it with being fun too. If all you're doing is ignoring tantrums and disciplining, nothing's going to work. You got to mix it with fun. You got to be fun. So you're always, you focus on the good kid, but you deal with the bad behavior very quickly and you ignore tantrums. They're not really bad behavior. They're a loss of control and not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it, right? That's why you ignore it, because it's not something you'd ever want to give any attention to. So, but yeah, you got to mix stuff up. It's got to be fun. You want to, basically, you want to treat the child as if they're great and they're wonderful, but if they should happen to do something bad, there's a consequence. I could go on and on and on with that one. Yeah, I'll let that go for now, because you're asking a big picture thing. If they're 3 and still throwing tantrums, it's got momentum going there. Usually they should be petering out when they hit about 3. My son had a tantrum at 3, and then he had another one at 3.5, if I remember correctly. I think that was his last one. The better you get at ignoring tantrums, you're decreasing the duration, intensity, and frequency of tantrums. So they should be petering out. So it's still okay if they still have them after 3, but they should be minimizing. If they're amping up, you got to figure stuff out. You want to do. I do have a course on toddler tantrums. It's a mini course, toddler tantrum course. Yeah. Wow, what a creative name. I thought I called it toddler tantrum busting. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, it's just on here. It's not. I've been doing daycare 22 years, and it seems like tantrums are getting worse because moms are doing the mini therapy sessions during tantrums. That really trendy thing that's out right now, please your parents, mini therapy, discussing all their big feelings and their big emotions. That's why everything's getting worse. That's why tantrums are getting worse. It's feeding it. Where do we find the courses? There's a link above there, and you can get the free behavior board, the courses, or you can hire me for coaching, all in those links. The link, it's one link, and I also have a website, but it's just quicker in there. Everything's on there that I have to offer. I'm no good at all that fancy websites. I just like to get stuff done, and yeah, I don't like working on websites. You need to know the function of the behavior. What's your point? I don't understand what you mean. Was there a question or a point? I don't know what you mean. What's your background? I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old, thought I was going to be a child psychologist at 20, and they kicked me out after a week because I asked too many questions, because what they were teaching was garbage. I'm sure this is 40 years ago. I'm sure they fixed it up now. It was all that holier than thou, I know better than you crap, this authority style. And then all the other students started asking me questions. I just always got kids. And then I spent many, many years in hospitals and schools, volunteering, mentoring kids. And then I had a couple, and then I continued to mentor troubled teens. So it's all experience based. And I think it is. I don't know how. And a lot of my clients are principals, teachers, social workers, child psychologists. You can have degrees coming out the wazoo, but it is heavily, heavily experience based because it's personal. Parenting is personal. And yeah. And how embarrassing how embarrassed do you think child psychologists are to hire me? And and they'll usually fess up to what they do, right? But then once they realize it's usually with teenagers because they are different. They're my specialty and they are a whole different thing. So, yeah, I love what I do. I'm really bad at a lot of things, but parenting kids I always kind of understood them. I always was good at getting respect. But having fun. I was the fun, goofy mom. I was crazy Lisa. But boy, I know how to take care of business if they act out. But it's very quick. It's very quick. So they look up to you. They want to please you, like you're a mentor. They'd be embarrassed to be cheeky to you, right? My kids would have been, other kids would have been, because I treated them so well and I was fun. So it's a whole, like, you want them to feel good about themselves. And when they feel good about themselves, when they're with you, you bring out the best in them. They want to please you. And they're very vulnerable with you because they trust you so much. And that is a lot of power. You got to be really respectful of that. If you're working with troubled teens and you get that level of trust and respect, you've got them in the palm of your hands. You better respect that because they're so fragile, especially troubled teenagers. And once you get that level, once they care that much about what you think about them, it is a huge responsibility. So it's my favorite thing is teenagers. I love that. Yeah, I'm sure they're better now, but oh, sugar. Years and years ago, when I was going to be a child psychologist, this was back in 1980. Just a sec. Back in 1980. And I'm sure they've learned a lot now, but children were given a lot less credit back in the day. And they were treated that way. They didn't get the respect that they craved and wanted. It was sort of more the authority style, which is better than what's going on now, by the way. But I disagreed with it so bad I had to get out of there. You know what I should have done? They kicked me out after a week because I asked too many questions and all the other students were asking me questions. What I should have done was held out, not quit. And they probably would have paid me double to get rid of me. They couldn't get rid of me fast enough. That was great. Anyway, I got to go. If you go in the link above there, you'll have everything that I have to offer. Teaching you how to be a calm leader is up there. There's my free behavior board, my courses, and the 5 weeks to get respect is if you have a 3 and a 12-year-old, or you can hire me for coaching one-on-one on Zoom. And that's just that next level up there. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow. Okay, bye now.